I'm Donna.
And I'm Bruce, and this is Lyrical Wisdom.
Hello, everyone. Thanks for tuning in to Lyrical Wisdom, where we dive into song lyrics and offer heart-based wisdom through our interpretations. If you enjoy what you're hearing, don't forget you can catch every episode of Lyrical Wisdom on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Amazon Music, and more.
You can also find us on YouTube. Just search Lyrical Wisdom Show. Do you have a song you'd like to hear us shed some light on? You can email us requests, questions, comments to lyricalwisdomshow@gmail.com. That's lyricalwisdomshow@gmail.com. Or leave a comment on a YouTube video. We'd really love to hear from you. And all requests get an episode and a shout out.
So join us every Tuesday and Friday as we dig deep and deliver our wisdom. And thank you for sharing, liking, and subscribing to Lyrical Wisdom.
Good morning, Bruce.
Good morning, Donna.
How are you today?
I am having another day in paradise, and that is so true. I'm so confident in saying that today. I'm bursting. So thank you for asking that.
Yay.
Yeah.
Yes. And you know why I asked? Because I too am in paradise, and I just wanted confirmation that paradise does exist.
It is
It's
there.
everywhere all
It
the
is there.
time. All you
Yes,
gotta
it
do
is.
is tap in.
You do. That's funny that you say tap in, because it reminds me of the days when I was younger and I used to see the World Wrestling Federation on television back in the days of like 3 or 4 channels that we had to watch, and they would come on TV and somebody would do tag team wrestling and they would tap in, switch it out. And so yeah, I agree with you. All you do need to do is tap in, because
Yes.
and the funny thing about those moments in those shows and in that specific entertainment is that they high five each other to tap in and out. And the high five is like this natural way of like feeling like we congratulate ourselves and others, and it makes us feel good. It's actually, they've done studies that have shown that when you high five somebody, it makes them feel good. It's like a really instant return, if you will.
Yeah, that's really cool, Bruce, because I can feel that. I just envisioned it high-fiving you, and I'm like, yeah, that does work.
That's funny. That's really funny, but awesome. Yeah, I love that. And so I'm really feeling it today. I'm feeling very fortunate. I'm glad that we're here. I don't want to steal anybody's thunder, because we both feel very grateful for all of our listeners out there.
Yes, thank you all so much for joining us. I really, really appreciate you. And you all know very well that we love you.
Yes,
We
we
love
do.
everything about you, and we really, really love getting the requests.
Yes,
That
we do.
makes our heart sing for sure.
Requests are the lifeblood of this, I think, in a certain way. I mean, we love doing it no matter what. If we have a song that we can talk about, you guys, we're going to love doing this. And sometimes we find our own, honestly, we'll find something that just really kind of sings to us. Ha ha ha. But
That
I
was
mean,
awesome.
but it's true, like we find something that does that. And that's why we love to be able to do requests, because we
Yes.
know that there's something there that is singing to somebody out there,
Yeah. Yeah.
So
And I know we have a request this morning, but before we
yes, we
jump
do.
into it, I just wanted to say, Bruce, I understand that World Wrestling Federation thing you talked about, because my kids are wonderful tech guru Allie Gal and her brother Davis, my son, were really into wrestling.
Oh yeah.
And so I saw many wrestling matches, not only on TV, but live and in
Oh wow.
person with the little characters that I bought for them with
Oh
the
wow.
ring. And those were fun times. Fun
They
times.
they
Thank you
certainly
for
are.
that memory, Bruce.
Oh, my
Thank you.
pleasure. But thank you for that. I feel like sometimes people used to think of that sport as something that was kind of against the wind. You know, they had a difficult time looking at it as a sport.
Hmm.
And I know there was some entertainment involved, but there's history in that, and there's also cultures that practice this
Oh,
entertainment and sport in
sumo
different ways.
wrestling is like very
Sumo,
spiritual.
oh my gosh. Well, then there's also the luchadors in the country of Mexico, and
Oh,
there was even a cartoon that was produced that was basically it was children dressed up as these luchador wrestlers. It was the cutest little thing. I mean, but yeah,
yeah.
it was called Mucha Lucha, and it was actually a
I
really
think
cute.
I heard of that.
It was such a
Yeah.
cute cartoon, and but there's a history of it, and all I can say is that you know, with the hopes that in the World Wrestling Federation and this sport that can also be considered entertainment, that they really don't hurt each other. You know, like
Mm.
there's a competitive side of it that is it's anti-harm. You know,
Yes.
it's a different kind of competitive spirit in its own way, and that does kind of make me feel better, you know,
True. And
because
yes,
it
yes.
gives it and
There's
that's
no
the
bleeding,
yeah, there's an
no cuts above the
entertainment.
eye. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
there's an entertainment side to it that, you know, is really beautiful in that way. And so I'm glad that it goes against the wind to other sports that all too often people are hurt, you know, in participating in
Hmm.
very badly sometimes.
Yeah.
But at the same time, like, you know, what a wonderful memory to have because I remember those things too growing up. Holy cow, I used to love those things.
Yeah.
Boy,
Yeah.
howdy.
It just, Bruce, those things, sometimes they just seem like yesterday.
They do. And like it was so long ago.
Yeah.
And we
Yeah.
need to
Hint,
we're start
hint,
we're
hint.
starting to tell talk about the song now. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
I love this song and I've heard this so many times on the radio. I think that a lot of our listeners are going to recognize it because of that. And
Hmm.
I love listening to this artist because I believe that this artist is somebody that a lot of people have heard, and they're not always certain that that is the song that they sing. Now, this one, I think it's it's you can't mistake it.
Yeah. Yeah. I love
But
his voice.
yeah,
Yeah.
but it's just that there's also other things that people do, like Jimi Hendrix is famous for his own solo artistry, but he was also a studio musician. And there's a lot of people that do things like that are these amazing musicians, and then they'll go record with people, and you won't even know it unless you actually look at the album. But Bob Seger is who we're talking about out there,
Yes.
to
Yes.
all of our friends out there.
Hmm.
And the song is one that I'm gonna love to read to you. It's called "Against the Wind."
Thank you so much from our friend, Vanya, for this
Yes,
request.
this request comes to us from Vanya. And yes, we are very happy to do this. And that's one of the reasons why, like, I love this song. I love the people behind it. I love you guys out there. Send us your request and thank you very much. All right. Against the Wind by Bob Seger. It seems like yesterday, but it was long ago. Janie was lovely. She was the queen of my nights. There in the darkness, with the radio playing low, and the secrets that we shared, the mountains that we moved, caught like a wildfire out of control, till there was nothing left to burn and nothing left to prove. And I remember what she said to me, how she swore that it never would end. I remember how she held me oh so tight. Wish I didn't know now what I didn't know then. Against the wind. We were running against the wind. We were young and strong. We were running against the wind. and the years rolled slowly past, and I found myself alone, surrounded by strangers I thought were my friends. I found myself further and further from my home, and I guess I lost my way. There were, oh, so many roads. I was living to run and running to live, never worried about paying or even how much I owed. Moving 8 miles a minute for months at a time, breaking all of the rules that would bend. I began to find myself searching for shelter again and again against the wind. A little something against the wind. I found myself seeking shelter against the wind. Well, those drifters' days are past me now. I've got so much more to think about. Deadlines and commitments. What to leave in, what to leave out. Against the wind. I'm still running against the wind. I'm older now, but still running against the wind.
Cool, cool, cool. Thank you, Vanya. Vanya Labbit. What a,
Wow.
the interesting thing is when we got this request, this song had been in my mind playing frequently. And the request came, and I was like, oh my gosh, I was just thinking about that song. So this is really, really cool. And I love the way it starts. It seems like yesterday, but it was long ago.
I love that too. I love the fact that it really talks about the feeling of, I think, how time is what it is in our way of believing in it, that it is a construct.
Yes.
And it's it's part of the reason why I think that some people look at certain theories. There's a theory out there that you could, you know, make a transportation device that could somehow fold space-time so that you could go a very far distance. By bringing that far distance, somehow it gets really, really close to you through like a wormhole or through these things.
Time
And
traveling.
yeah, and it like but in this way, you're not really going back in time. You're just going to a very distant place by covering space time. And maybe it is time traveling in its way. I don't know, honestly, but I will just say that, like, it's like folding space time so that the two ends come closer together.
Yeah.
And that's why I'm thinking of, it when we feel like it seems like yesterday, but then it was really, really long ago. That's where I feel like that time is getting folded. In our
Mhm.
experience, those 2 points of time are not that far away. And so when you feel that sensation, it's because it was only like a blink ago.
Right.
It because I everything's right now.
I was going to
We're
say, yeah, if you
it's
believe that it is all now, there is
yeah,
only now, then
yeah.
yeah, yeah,
It's
it's
which
really
is
fascinating.
Yeah, it's that, and that's where I feel like, a lot of times when we find out, oh, I should have, like, you know, should have done that thing, because then you have that gut instinct when you feel like you should do that thing, and then you don't do it necessarily because you're like, well, no, this is the logical, or what I know, or whatever this is, and that's going to influence me to make this decision. So then you make that decision, then you look back at, oh, I should have just done that. Should have listened to my gut. And that's where I feel like this happens, but it's in a different way. It's like, oh,
Yeah.
I felt like that was yesterday, but it was so long ago. It's like, oh, it's the exact same thing. Your gut, that gut instinct of that feeling is telling you that was just a blink ago, like
Mm-hmm.
you breathe in, you breathe out, and you're 50 years old or something like that. And so, that's why I feel like it's so tangible for all of us.
Right.
Um,
And then I love the way he describes the nights because within the darkness, there was someone named Janie who was lovely and the queen of his nights.
Yeah,
So for me, that is not only is he speaking of someone that means something to him, but he actually put her up on a pedestal, because when you think of a queen, you think of someone that's has the power and the knowledge and even wisdom to help everyone within the kingdom. Does that make sense? A queen is
absolutely.
someone that, is thought of and honored for who she is, basically.
Yes, absolutely. Well, and it is, I believe, a part of that. I don't like to think of it as part of the choosing process, but I do. I think that when people look at a president and the first lady, I think that there is something about that companionship part of it that people look at that makes them feel like it's this, important part of the entire process,
I agree.
especially in our day. And in that, just in that way, and to take the examples of presidents and their first ladies, or a queen, and possibly a king, because the most recent queen of England, actually, I don't believe her husband, because I don't even know what his name was, which is really weird. But I know he had to be a king, I guess, but like I didn't hear about him. I always heard about just Queen Elizabeth, you
Right.
know. And so I also have to say that, which it would indicate to me that that means that the queen is the absolute head monarch, that there's a lot of that I feel like is being spoken about in the song, is like how we could take the example of Queen Elizabeth and think of it as like the queen of the night as something that was, as an example, like a metaphor of somebody not just like a queen, like in a beautiful way, but also in a much more profound way. Does that make
Right.
sense? Like
Yes,
in a
it does,
much more
because
profound way.
mm,
Sorry. Because,
that interesting. Okay. The Queen's husband, thank you, Allison, was Prince Philip.
yes, thank you. I couldn't remember his name.
Yeah, yeah. He was born in 1921. Wow. So I think, what?
Oh,
I
I
think
just saw a
that,
picture.
yeah. I think that another thing is when he talks about Janie, well, the Queen, what I was thinking was the Queen, the reason for me that you speak of a queen in a kingdom more than the king is because of the feminine. And I really like bringing that up because that is where a lot of the energy is going here now on earth with the feminine and the understanding that the queen is the creative energy. In other words, birth comes from the feminine,
Yeah,
and therefore the queen sustains the kingdom. In other words, without the queen, there can be no more, you know, creation. The king supports that creation. It is a co creative process. So I love the fact that, the queen is mentioned here because they're in
yeah,
the darkness with the radio playing low, the secrets that we shared and the mountains that we moved.
yeah,
So, I mean, I love just the literal feeling of that, meaning
yeah,
when they made love, it
yeah,
was such a beautiful experience to them that they felt as if they were moving mountains.
yeah,
And I really, really love that because I know many of us can relate to that experience in life where we were with someone that was so wonderful, beautiful to be with, that we surrendered into that space of connection, of love, of becoming one.
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
felt the mountains move.
Yes. And they felt like, and all of us can feel like we are caught like a wildfire out of control. And to me, that's a beautiful line. You know,
Hmm.
I love that. Because it's, there's, there's a lot of different ways that it's said in songs like this. But in this one, that was perfect timing because, the, the ways that can happen, it's, that's how it can feel. You feel like a beautiful controlled frenzy,
Mm.
and I do feel like in some cases, I've heard this described in dance, but I've also seen it and heard of it described in like movies and plays and dance, but I know it applies to a lot of different things, and that is you can have a beautiful controlled chaos.
Oh, yeah.
And so, um, that's what I feel like, that kind of has that frenzied, caught like a wildfire out of control, moving mountains and, you know, just all of the things. And that to me speaks to the more profound relationship of having, you know, interestingly enough, a lot of songs are sung about a relationship with a young lady
Mm.
in
Hmm.
song, in the general scope of like music. There's a lot of male musicians out there that sing about a relationship with a woman, and it seems like, one of the things that we talk about, I feel like they just really keep pointing to the fact that it is so much more profound, that, this idea of somebody being that, you know in a way, that perfect being in the night and sharing all of these things. It's such a
Sharing
beautiful thing.
secrets. Yeah.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
so much
Yeah.
more
Hmm.
profound than, and
And the
till there was not
wildfire. Yeah.
yeah, till there was nothing left to burn and nothing
Left
left to
to
prove.
prove.
Yeah.
Wow. I mean, for
Yeah.
me, that speaks volumes because I feel like so many of us are constantly seeking approval,
Hmm.
not only in, our choices and our decisions, but in everything we do or say.
Yeah.
It's even with ourself. We seek
Yes.
approval, you
Yeah.
know, from ourself.
Yeah. I couldn't
And
agree more. Yeah.
that is, to me, the most beautiful space to be in, where you've burned away everything, all that darkness, that, chaos, that whatever it is that's just making you feel discourse, to where there is nothing, no thing
Yeah.
left to prove.
Yeah.
I mean, that is such a beautiful statement. Um,
Absolutely.
so, I mean, just take a moment and think, what would it be like if I had nothing left to prove?
Yeah. I
Wow.
I I was
Do you,
just thinking
yeah, do you
this. I
feel the
was
ease and the peace and the
Yeah.
flow in that?
Yeah.
And guess what? You don't have to push against the wind when you do that.
That's right.
Yeah, I remember what she said to me, how she swore that it would never end. I remember how she held me oh so tight. Wish I didn't know now what I didn't know then.
Yeah, I think a lot of people can hear it now that we're talking about it outside of the song, just kind of in a more slower pace. I think that there's a lot of people out there listening that are like, "Boy, I can remember that day," where you
Hmm.
suddenly are like, "Wow, I wish I didn't know, now um what I didn't know then," because it's very profound. That's such a profound statement there, because when you're pushing against the wind, as the next line says,
Uh-huh.
you just don't know we were running against the wind, as he says. It's like you're just so, you're young. We were young and strong, and we were running just like against the wind, because all these beautiful things, you feel like, with the nothing left to prove and all these experiences, that like you've learned everything. You are now like surrendering, just like you said. You're learning a lot about each other. Well, we don't have anything to prove to each other anymore. This is amazing, like we figured it out. Here it is, and it's like moving mountains and all these wonderful things. And but it's pushing against the wind, which is so wild because that's that knowledge of like hindsight is always 2020, as a lot of people like to say, you know, but you never know it back. You're just running against that wind. You're pushing it. You feel the wind pushing against you, but it doesn't seem like it's going to be something that you should have to worry about in
Yeah.
those moments, because you're so blissed out. And, but,
But I guess what he knows now, what he didn't know then, is that um, a heartbreak, there
yeah,
is such a thing as heartbreak, and that forever
yes,
in this human form is, it doesn't exist.
yeah,
There is going to be a death in this human
yes,
form, and
yeah,
coming to realize that there is not a true death, that what we really are within this human form is infinite, creative love that just that's infinite, that keeps existing no matter what,
yeah,
that's the divinity within us. And not realizing that and staying in this physicality, that's the pushing against the wind. And
yes,
some people would call it going against the flow. Learning how to flow and move with the wind is
yeah.
to just, everything just is.
No, it truly is. It truly is. And in this case, like I think that
Because the years rolled slowly past and
they
I
do.
found myself alone.
Alone. Yeah.
Alone. There it
Surrounded by
is.
strangers I thought were
Yep.
my friends. Yeah. I I I like that and I threw that in there at the very end of that, Donna, because alone and surrounded by strangers, I feel like it's like a bit of a twofer. I don't know how else to
Hmm.
say it. Like the two
Yeah.
need to be there simply because
Right.
I think a lot of people can identify with that. You feel like you're completely alone in a lot of ways. And the next thing you know, you feel like you're around people. You're like, oh, I'm not really alone. These people are, well, they're not really my friends. They're just strangers. They're just kind of people in my life. I don't know if they really even care, you know, like I can identify with that myself because then the next thing you know, you're like, wow, this is kind of like me in a different, wow, this is different. Because then you suddenly take a step back, you maybe take a deep breath, and you sort of kind of see through the veil, if you will. Um,
Right. Right. And that's, I guess, where the next line comes in, because I found myself further and further from my home.
yeah,
And I guess I lost my way.
yeah,
Meaning, for me, home was his true self,
yeah,
his authentic self, his heart,
yeah,
his being. He lost his way,
yeah,
meaning,
yeah,
I lost the divinity within myself. I became
yeah,
so caught up in my heartbreak and
yeah,
pushing against the wind.
yes, yes. And there were, and that's the so logical and also beautiful in this next line. There were oh so many roads. And then I was living to run and running to live. It's just what you just said, Donna.
Oh
It's like
yeah.
everything you just mentioned about, getting further and further away from the grounded moment, the grounded, divine inner self and being, connected to that and being able to, you know, kind of utilize that to help get through that heartbreak. But yeah, just, what a beautiful way of, segueing into those two lines.
And the
I've
fact that he wasn't walking, he was running.
Yeah, run, living to run and running to
Yep.
live. I've um never worried about paying or even how much I owed, moving 8 miles a minute for months at a time, breaking all of the rules that would bend. And I'm, just going through those, it's like Bob Seger goes through these and he just kind of ticks off the boxes of things that he could think of as examples of like, I am just really
Exactly.
just, I'm doing all kinds of things, to harm myself in a way because I'm just trying to find a way to cover up this feeling of bad. Um, and
And yeah, it's also a way for me. of describing, he's just repeating it over and over again in different
Yes.
ways so that
Yeah.
we all can relate to
Yep.
it,
Yeah.
whether
Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
being surrounded by strangers that you thought were friends, or
Yeah.
getting far from home, or having too many roads to choose from,
Yeah.
and running, running, and then not worrying about paying or what you owe,
Yeah.
it's it moving 8 miles a minute. I
Yeah.
mean, I can't do the math real quick, but at 60 miles per hour, um,
That's pretty quick.
that's, yeah, 8 miles a minute's pretty quick, I think.
No, that is definitely quick because
Yeah.
it's just like, it's that's the thing is that like all of those things are exactly I believe what you're talking about, and that is just using a different example to, you know, excuse me, push this creative message, this beautiful message of running against the wind. This is what I'm doing to myself
Mhm.
because I'm basically running away from where I could be to deal with this, to be in a better place, to start the healing or to, consider the healing. It's hard, because I know that we've all been in that searching for shelter, or excuse me, I begin to find myself, searching after breaking all the rules that would bend, all these things you're burning yourself out. Then you're
Yeah.
searching for something, searching for shelter again and again against the wind.
Yeah.
It's just all of it is just so against the wind. And we're just, um, when, when a, um, when a person is standing on a beach and you're about ready to go out into the ocean, there's a couple of things that we think about, and we're thinking about how cold is the water, how like, what am I getting into? And one of the things that I know people look at are the waves that are coming at you. Well, the wind and the waves that are coming towards the beach are pushing things towards the beach. And so if anybody's trying to float on top of the water and get past that, it's actually tricky because the wind and the water are trying to push you back to the beach. And so it can be an exhausting test of like stamina to try to be like floating on something that you think like a raft or something and just get yourself past that stuff. Because it's like a lot of times it's like, unless it's calm, it can be really difficult to get through that kind of impact zone. And
Yeah.
so I think that's what, to try to tie into a feeling of, because a lot of people have walked down a sidewalk or a street and you feel like you're getting pushed backwards by the wind. And that's what it feels like. Here we are pushing against, where
And
we
what
know
happens? That's when the searching begins.
that's when the searching begins.
Yeah,
Yeah.
searching for shelter again and again
Yeah.
against the wind, a little something against the wind. I found myself seeking shelter against the wind.
Digging those heels in.
Mm-hmm.
It's because it's like, and I know we've all been it. I've been it myself where suddenly denial isn't just a river in Egypt, and
Mm-hmm.
that's when we suddenly find ourselves later on, of course, because the time, it's like we fold time.
Yeah,
It
yeah,
feels like just yesterday, but it was
yeah.
really a long time ago. And those drifter days are past me now. I've got so much more to think about because of all those beautiful experiences, all of that color and flavor and beauty that's been brought to life, deadlines and commitments, what to leave in, what to leave out. I love
That,
that.
yeah. For me, that's the coming of age, the
Yes.
understanding that, life is what you make of it. Life is here for you, not against you.
Yes. Yes.
And when, those drifter days, when they pass you, then you have the time to think.
Yeah.
And the deadlines and commitments for me are like, I think that for me is something that you put in place, because
Yes.
people don't give you deadlines and commitments. Well, I guess I can't really say that because, people do. If you're in school, you've got deadlines of papers due at such and such a day, and,
Yeah. Yeah.
commitments, I got to do this at that time. But those are things you set upon yourself. You're the one that went in school. You're the one that, um, is in the job and learning to understand the commitments and the deadlines, I think
Yep.
is what is happening here. What to
Yes.
leave in and what to leave out.
Yep.
That's the beauty of it all. What
Yes.
am I going to commit to? What
Yes.
am I going, what deadline am I setting for myself in order to
Yeah.
reach this commitment?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I
Yeah.
and I believe it because what to leave in and what to leave out also applies to against the wind. I'm still running against the wind. I'm older now, but still running against the wind. The last couple lyrics, not to steal those from us to finish up this song, but I believe that what to leave in and what to leave out really speaks to that because the older you get, you learn which battles to choose to, which hill am I going to choose to fight on, if you will, to maintain, king of the hill status, if you will, or to be stubborn. Where do I dig my heels in? Where do I need to draw that line to establish my boundary? Where is that, and that's where as we get older, that's when we choose those moments of, where we're either like, I'm going to go with the wind or I'm going to go against the wind. It's going to be one or the other,
Right.
and
Yes.
that's when you learn how to navigate those waters. And I kind of feel like the sailors have that funny way of tacking that makes them so much more profound suddenly.
Yeah.
They know how to
Yeah.
drive into the wind and use the opposite direction wind to their advantage so they can keep going
Right.
against the wind basically. And
Yeah.
so I love that. But yeah, it's what a beautiful statement, or excuse me, what a beautiful song.
Yeah. Yeah. And I guess, I can really relate to this song because I'm older now.
Yes.
Yeah, and I'm learning,
Me
how to
too.
run
Me
and
too.
and be. That's the beauty of it, being,
Yes.
against the wind because the
Yeah,
wind is going to blow.
it
That's
is.
the beautiful thing about being human, about
Yes.
being here on this beautiful planet that's co-creating with us our realities, our process of being,
Yeah.
and allowing that wind to blow without letting it tumble you down,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
like a
Yeah.
tumbleweed,
Yeah.
but just, feeling the wind blowing and being able to stay in your center.
Oh yeah.
And then find, turning the other way. So then
Yeah.
you are going with the wind. So I love this song. Thank you, Vanya. Thank you, Vanya, so much.
Yes. Thank you, Vanya.
Yeah, yeah. And thank you, each and every one of you,
Yes.
for being here and sharing this beautiful moment with us now.
Yes.
Yeah, thank you for being here on
Lyrical
Wisdom.